Another way to clean our makeup brushes is to deep clean our makeup brushes. So in order to deep clean our makeup brushes, we're gonna need a little bit more than just that 70% alcohol or that quick cleanse spray that we saw in the previous video. You're either gonna need some sort of a liquid dish soap. Personally, I use Dawn a lot. Dawn is just really popular, I feel like, for cleaning things in general. They always advertise that it cleans oil off ducks. So I feel like it's pretty trustworthy because of that, but really any kind of liquid dish soap will work. Some people use baby shampoo. Personally though, I've always preferred dish soap to baby shampoo, but that is also another option. A lot of brands, this one is by Krylon, a lot of brands actually make like solid brush soaps now. So I also have one of those. A lot of times if I'm using like a brush and it has a lot of like stage blood or like heavier makeup in it, I'll opt for like the dish soap so that I don't get this covered in any kind of blood or anything. But either one is perfectly fine to use. Just be careful though, if you do use the solid soaps, you need to make sure that you let them dry after they are wet. And what's nice about this one is that you can actually remove it from the container. And I always wipe it out and sanitize and clean it because these have a tendency to mold. So that's why I do like the Krylon one, because I can actually completely pop it out of this container. But just be wary of that. If you do buy any other solid brush soaps, because a lot of brands make them now, please wipe them off, let them dry before you close them back up, otherwise they are going to get mold. So you can use these to clean your makeup brushes, you can use these to clean powder puffs, and then you can even use it to try to clean these little stipple sponges. So these are a little bit trickier to get clean, but I find that if I just use something like, if you were just having them in like cream makeup or like water activated face and body paint, something like this, I can usually wash out of it, and I can use these maybe like 1 or 2 more times. If it's some kind of blood that dries, that you probably just need to throw out. But I know sometimes, especially in theater, money is tight, so they will want you to get a lot of use out of things. That's why it's important to know how to keep everything as clean and as sanitary as possible. So the reason you may need to deep clean your brushes, so if you go through and you use the quick clean or the alcohol and you find that you're still getting makeup coming out of it, it just doesn't seem like it's getting clean, then it's time to move on to deep cleaning. Me personally, I like to deep clean my brushes. My personal brushes, I like to deep clean once a week. If they are brushes that I've used on somebody else, like if I'm working at a job, I will just deep clean them for sure, 100% every time. Not that you shouldn't care about your own sanitation as much as you care about everyone else's, but you know your own face and your own skin and your own hygiene better than you know someone else's. So you can get away with maybe just doing the quick clean on your own brushes every time you use them, and then deep cleaning once a week. I really recommend you clean them in some way. A lot of people don't, but really it's just going to be better for your skin and for your hygiene and just for yourself in general if you do clean them. So what I will usually do is I will spray them down with either the 70% alcohol or the quick clean brush sprays, brush cleaning sprays, and then I will deep clean them. So I like to do that first because I feel like it pulls out kind of a couple layers of makeup, for lack of better words. And then you'll get to the deep cleaning, because what happens a lot of times, you can't see it too much in this one, but it is there, is you'll end up with these just kind of like masses of makeup that just kind of like go into like where the bristles meet the brush, and you really want to get that out. So it's a good idea to deep clean, to really get in there and make sure that you pull everything out. And then I like to go back after I've deep cleaned it and I spray it with either the 70% alcohol or an alcohol-based brush cleaning spray to make sure that it's sanitized and totally clean. So all you need is some kind of a water source. Running water is best, so that way the water stays clean. And then you just need something to clean it with, so we can either use your dish soap or we can use the pomade. I will use both so that you can kind of see how they work. So first things first, I got my brush a little bit wet, so if I'm going to use the little, like I call it brush pomade, but I think that's just because it's in a tin. It's really a soap. It's a solid soap. You can kind of just move it around in here, pick up some of the soap. I personally clean and sanitize my hands in between every single brush or every single thing that I am cleaning. If I'm going to use my hands to kind of wipe it off. So make sure you do that. If you're not really wanting to do that, you can use like a little brush scrub mat, but I would still recommend trying to sanitize it in between. If it's all your own brushes or all one person's brushes, you may not have to do that because technically it's all coming from sort of the same source, but I would make sure that you really sanitize your brushes afterwards, just so you're not picking anything up off of your hands or off of the mat. So basically I'll just kind of like move it around and you can kind of see some of the makeup that will kind of like, so I'm doing this over paper towel, not over a sink so you can see it, but you can kind of see it will pull some of the makeup out. So you're just going to keep doing this and then you're going to rinse it until it rinses clean. And so it will usually take you a little while to do that, so I will not do all of that, but basically you would just kind of keep scrubbing and rinsing and kind of like pulling it to see if the makeup is coming out. And once that's clean, then you'll be ready to spray it with some 70% alcohol, let it dry, and then honestly, once it's dry, I spray it again with alcohol or the quick clean brush cleaner because I really like to make sure that things are sanitary. If you're going to use dish soap, what I'll often do is I will actually put, again, so I want to make sure, so I'm going to go back and probably rewash everything again, but I would want to make sure that my hands are totally clean and sanitary, right? So I will grab some hand sanitizer just to make sure that things are staying sanitary. So this particular little powder puff is quite dirty, so this is going to take me a little while to clean, but I could wet this and then put it into the solid brush soap if I wanted to, but I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to use the liquid dish soap with it. So again, I like to wash these, especially if they're bigger. I wash them in sections, just so that way I can make sure that it's really getting clean. Now these are something, if they're really, really dirty, just throw them away. Because stuff is really getting in there, so you really need to thoroughly clean it. I know some people will put them in the wash, but make sure that if you are going to put them in the wash and there's a lot of makeup in it, try not to wash it with things that if makeup gets on it, it's going to be a problem. So again, I can put the dish soap in my hand and then kind of swirl it around on there, so I can do the same thing with my brush too, right? And then you kind of move it around, and then I would do the same, like swirl it on my hand, run it under water, and I would just keep squeezing it until I know that all the makeup is out. And so again, this particular one, this is gonna take me a while, but I think you get the idea, right? And then last but not least, I'll go ahead and show you if we're gonna wash out the stipple sponge. So again, I'm gonna sanitize my hands really quickly. I'm gonna have to go back and clean all of this again, but I just wanted to give you kind of a quick idea. And so if I wanted to try to clean my stipple sponge, I could use my solid brush soap, pomade, whatever, or I could use the dish soap. So again, I can just kind of swirl this in here, and you really want to make sure that you work it into all the little holes in it. The same thing goes for if you're using a beauty blender. You can use any of these things to clean your beauty blenders. If you have the little disposable sponges, usually like the little like white wedge sponges, once you put water on those, they usually expand, so those need to be disposed of. They are one-time use, you cannot keep cleaning them. Beauty blenders though, I highly recommend getting a really good, probably a solid soap if you want to get a beauty blender, because it can get really hard to get the liquid back out of it. So again, once I kind of scrub this around, I can do the same, rinse it, scrub, rinse it, scrub until it goes clean. Okay, and then I can keep doing that until it's clean, until I see no soap in it. So again, really quickly, we'll just show, and I know it's tricky to have to go back and forth and sanitize so much, but it's really important, not just for your own health, but for the health of everybody around you too, right? So we can sanitize really quickly, and then just so I make sure that we're totally clear on everything, if I am gonna use the brush soap, or the like liquid dish soap with the brush, I can just go ahead, swirl it in here, and then I always make sure that I like really like work it in, and then I can go ahead and I'll rinse it, and then I will just keep doing this until it rinses totally clean. I like to lay them out on either a towel that I know is clean and sanitized, or I have it also on like a plastic mat right now with paper towels. So you just want to make sure wherever they're drying that they are sanitized, and also something really important, make sure your solid brush soap dries, but make sure before you put any of these back into any kind of sealed container or bag that you make sure that they are dry, because if you put wet brushes or a wet sponge or a wet powder puff into a bag and you seal it, it could get moldy. So you don't want to spend all this time cleaning your brushes just to open them back up the next time and see that they're moldy. So please give them time to dry, let them sit out overnight. Sometimes things with like thicker bristles like this, they might take a little bit longer to dry, but I promise you it's worth it to make sure that they aren't moldy. So hopefully this gives you a little bit insight into how to clean your brushes and beauty blenders and powder puffs and little stipple sponges, and not how to clean your disposable sponges, because we should throw those away because they are disposable.